So welcome along to the first instalment of You Are My Boro, the new video cast from the Northern Echo. You're joined by me, Scott Wilson, the Chief Sports Writer at the Northern Echo, and also Dom Shaw, our main football writer. Hi, Dom.
Hello, Scott. How are you doing? All right.
We're going to chew the fat on all things Boro for the next 20 minutes or so. We're going to have a look back at the Blackpool win from the weekend. We're going to talk about Michael Carrick's squad and the amazing transformation that there's been since he took over from Chris Wilder. And then we'll have a little look ahead to Cardiff at the weekend as well. The plan, now that we're up and running, is we're going to be doing these a couple of times a week. We're going to be having a chat. We're going to get guests in. We're going to have interviews. We're going to have previews of matches. We're going to look back at games. So hopefully, if you're a Boro fan, then it's a good one-stop shop for everything that's happening down at the Riverside. And speaking of the Riverside, you were there on Saturday, Dom. You were covering the game for us at the Echo. Another really good Boro performance. It seems like we're saying it every week at the minute, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was exactly what like you hoped it'd be going, I think, or what you thought it should be.
Yeah.
But we were saying afterwards, you know, there's a lot to be said for just those no fuss wins, isn't there? When you're at the top and you're playing the teams who are at the bottom. Both Paddy McNair, we spoke to Paddy McNair afterwards, and obviously Michael Carrick, and both made the point of how it was a completely different challenge to Watford the week earlier. And it can almost be more difficult in that you know they're going to come up to stifle, to frustrate. Yeah. And obviously it took that kind of piece of magic. We'll talk about Akpom obviously in more length. It took the piece of magic from Akpom to get things going. But once they did, other than Blackpool having a good chance, Jerry Yates when he hit the bar early in the second half, but it was comfortable really. Yeah. And you felt that Boro had plenty of gears to shift through. I mean, obviously you were there the week earlier at Watford, which you know, by all accounts is probably the best performance, or certainly one of under Carrick so far. They're showing different ways. They show they know different ways to win a game, aren't they?
Well, that's it. That's exactly it. And, you know, the Watford game felt like a bit of a statement in that obviously Watford were above them in the league at kickoff and, you know, have come down from the Premier League, have a smattering of Premier League players still in there. And certainly for 45 minutes, I think it was probably the best Boro have played under Carrick. And so you came away from that thinking, okay, that's, you know, a really good performance, but they're not going to be able to do that every week. And it's a question of, can they then go and win what you would class as the routine games? And, you know, the cliche is that there's no easy games in the Championship. Anyone can beat anybody. Well, yeah, that's fine. But if you're going to aspire to be top 6, potentially even top 2, and I'm sure we'll get to that in a minute as well, then you do need to be able to put your routine games, if you like, to bed. And that's what Boro couldn't do under Chris Wilder at the start of the season, quite clearly. But they've found a way of doing it under Carrick, haven't they?
It felt like a pretty perfect afternoon in the routine win, another clean sheet, no real dramas, no injuries will come out of the game. But they're getting Barlaser on for a good 25 minutes just to quickly get his feet under the table, getting Jones to run out on the right-hand side. It felt like, you know, Michael Carrick will come away on Saturday night thinking that has gone pretty much as well as it could have done, really. And obviously Akpom getting those goals again, and that first goal, you know, you'll have seen it back, just a measure of his confidence, I think, isn't it?
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, let's talk Chuba. I mean, we've got the stats below us there. 16 Championship goals this season, 4 clear of anyone else in the division. Now, I'm reliably informed that pretty much every bookmaker wasn't even offering him odds on him at the start of the season. Such was his kind of standing. I've seen it suggested that the only one that did, he was 200 to 1 to finish the season as Championship top scorer. I mean, there was a point in the summer when he was 200 to 1 just to be playing in a Middlesbrough squad. Such was the readiness of Chris Wilder to toss him away. I mean, I know, you know, we've talked a lot about this and we've written a lot about this, but it is extraordinary the extent to which his career, certainly his Boro career, but arguably his career full stop, has been completely transformed.
I'm sure listeners, viewers will have seen, heard us talk about this before, but it was after Blackpool, I think, when we spoke to him earlier in the season, and he was saying he came back in the summer fully expecting to leave. Didn't for 1 minute, kind of not give up on it, but
yeah,
you only had to look at the way last year played out for him. And he said he was waiting for his agent to call to tell him where he was going next, basically, while obviously not giving up on Boro. Everything pointed to the fact he was going to be on the move, didn't it?
Yeah,
and I think, probably what was most impressive is he started the season well, didn't he? Came back in and started the season well, and then got that injury, and you kind of could have very easily disrupted him. But I mean, he's gone up levels and levels again since Carrick's come in, hasn't he? And that number 10, I was looking at the team on Saturday, and when you look at that forward line, fair play to Carrick, because he kind of took the call to move Akpom to 10. He made the call to move Force to the right-hand side. Obviously, Archer's signing, McGree playing in that role with such freedom on the left. It's not an obvious front four, is it? But
no.
But it's
not at all.
Working an absolute treat, and I mean, Chuba must be on for 20 now, and I think that's the first since Bernie in what was it, 19? The first since Bernie did it. So he's got to get it now.
Which is remarkable for a whole host of reasons, but not least, like you said, that he's not even playing as a number 9. He's playing in that number 10 role, but it just seems to suit him, doesn't it? It's there's an awful lot that's taken all of us by surprise, I think, but it's the quality of his touch, his reading of the game in that position, but also his technical ability, the quality of his touch. He's doing things that even when he first came into the club and started reasonably well, you didn't for a minute think he was capable of doing.
It's interesting because on Saturday we were saying that before his first goal he'd been quiet and hadn't really done much, but I've found that in quite a few games that he eases his way in, and it's almost as though he's sussing them out, and then kind of grows into the game when he has sussed it out. And the second goal, Carrick said afterwards that as much as the first goal was a moment of brilliance, the second goal pleased him more because it's everything they've been working on, and
it's
kind of back to front, the pass from McGree, the finish, and then even the third, for McNair, it was a bold call, wasn't it, to leave Fry out, who's been exceptional since Carrick came in. But McNair obviously kept that clean sheet against Watford, and it was good to see him get a goal. And you look through the team now. Ballets are coming in. Crooks, who did well as a centre forward when he got the chance. He's got those dilemmas through the team now, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, let's have a little bit of a talk about that, because we've been writing pieces this week about Boro's squad depth. Michael Carrick was alluding to it after the game at the weekend, and it feels like this is the strongest and certainly deepest squad Boro have had for a long, long time in terms of genuine choices in each position. I mean, I think I wrote a piece at the weekend saying that the game at the weekend, rather, Dale Fry and Matt Crooks were the unused subs who have been key players at various stages this season. Dykesteel doesn't even get in the squad. So, all of a sudden, yes, there's going to be injuries and suspensions between the end of the season, but all things being equal, it's hard to see that if things go wrong, it's going to be because Michael Carrick runs out of options. That shouldn't be happening, should it?
And you've got Aaron Ramsey to come in when he's up to full fleet.
When he's right,
I know he's a bit of a forgotten man, but Matt Clark, signed for the Premier League team in the summer. He's been out. It will get to the point, won't it? I think you're probably already there, where there's a kind of debate every week as to who's going to miss out on the squad. Never mind who's just going to start. And it is difficult for Carrick. I said to him last week, asked him whether the most difficult aspect so far has been almost keeping the players who haven't played happy, because he doesn't change his team, does he? For the city, he's made in the league. He's probably count on one hand the amount of changes he's made in his league games. So I do think there's an art to, and it will probably become more challenging for him with time, won't it, to keep those players happy.
Especially when it's the likes of Dale and Matt Crooks and maybe Isaiah Jones clearly at the moment. Players who have been pivotal players for the last couple of seasons, longer in some respects. Then you're right. It's all very well leaving them out, but you need to keep them part of it. And thus far, touch wood, that seems to be working out okay, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's it's one of them, isn't it? Where we said to McNair afterwards on Saturday, how frustrating was it when you weren't in the team? And he said, well, yeah, obviously it was. And I spoke to the head coach plenty about it. But when the team are winning, what can you say? Really?
Yeah.
You know, you've just got to do what McNair did, haven't you? And wait for your chance, hope that it comes, and when it does come, take it. And I think as well, just quickly credit to McNair, because he came in for that Brighton game, didn't he? You were there.
Yeah.
And that was a rough old afternoon.
And it was a rough afternoon. There hasn't been many of them this season, certainly under Michael Carrick. And, you know, there are excuses. Brighton then wiped the floor with Liverpool the following week. So, you know, they're a very, very good team. But
fair play to him.
It was a chasing afternoon. Yeah, you're right. You know, there could have been a fallout from that, and there hasn't been, has there? Individually and collectively.
No. Which I think's credit to them. And yeah, I mean, that Sheffield, you alluded to it there, that Sheffield United question is suddenly kind of.
Yeah, well, let's have a chat at that. I mean, it's 10 points, isn't it? Sheffield United have a game in hand, so that we've got to have that caveat in straight away. But Borough are obviously at Bramall Lane later this month. Yeah, later this month.
Yeah, next week.
Next week, of course. Yeah, next Wednesday night, of course. So, you know, listen, we're in the realms of ifs and buts here, but if Borough could go and win that game, suddenly top two would have to come properly onto the table in the equation, wouldn't it?
That's what I agree. I was talking to a mate about this earlier, and I said at the minute it probably feels, you know, even though we asked Paddy McNair and Michael Carrick about it on Saturday, it probably feels still a little bit too early, doesn't it? But if Borough win next week, then even though it could still be 7 points with the Sheffield United game in hand, it just feels then like maybe.
Well, it would also be the sense that Sheffield United are stumbling a little bit, because in fairness to Burnley, they haven't. Burnley do look like they're over the hills and away, and fair play to Vincent Kompany. You know, I thought that they were the most, not necessarily the weakest of the three teams that came down, but certainly the ones that needed most surgery and had the potential to go badly wrong. And it certainly hasn't. So, you know, they've been fantastic. Sheffield United looked like they were keeping pace with them. At the moment, they're the ones who, you know, I hesitate to call it a wobble, because they haven't really thrown in that many poor results. But they're certainly, if put it like this, if they go and lose to Borough next week, then I think that, you know, all of a sudden there will be the argument that they're wobbling just as Borough are absolutely on a head of steam. Yeah,
that's it. And it's one of them, isn't it, where you know what it's like in the Championship when you have those 3 games in 7-8 days. One team has a good week, one team has a bad week, and 10 points can very easily be halved. That said, you know, it can very easily go the other way. And you look,
well, that's it. I mean, does it? Let's hope this isn't the case. But if Borough were to go there and get beat, would that put an end to any talk of the top two? Do you think?
I mean, because funnily enough, I was only looking. I think Luton are on the same points as Borough, aren't they? Having played the same number of games as Sheffield United. Now, you kind of don't know whether it's on. I think because Borough's trajectory.
Yeah, it's the momentum, isn't it? It's the fact they've come so far. Yeah, exactly.
And it kind of wouldn't feel like a Championship season without a real severe twist in the back end, does it? But I think, when you say there, if Borough were to get beat next week, and then you'd look and think, well, now it looks really unlikely.
Yeah.
But you know, Borough certainly look like they're more than strong enough to hold on for a playoff place. And I don't know about you, because I've seen every team, but I certainly haven't seen any other team in and around that region who you'd fear in the playoffs. I think the best team Borough have played outside the top 2, Sunderland.
I think there are teams that have the potential to be dangerous in one-off games, and I'd undoubtedly put Sunderland in that bracket just because of the quality of what they've got up front and the fact that if everything clicks, Diallo, Roberts, Clark can, you know, they can put a game dangerously out of reach in 20 minutes. But if you're talking about all things being equal over 180 minutes of a 2-legged playoff semi-final, then there's nobody. No, you're right. There's absolutely nobody who I would think, well, Borough will start against them as clear second favourites. No way, no.
And I think we've talked about this a lot in the last few weeks, haven't we? You said there that Sunderland do have that capability to tear any team apart, really. But it's an extremely young team, isn't it? Whereas Boro have that bit more kind of solidity about them. You can't foresee any major fall off. You know, I think we kind of keep reminding ourselves that as promising as things have been, we were saying the same in the early, you know, this time last year under Wilder.
When all the FA Cup runs and everything.
It feels different, doesn't it?
It does feel different. It definitely does. Yeah, you're right. You know, there are comparisons to be made in terms of league position and results and things, but it feels far more sustainable and solid this time, without a shadow of a doubt. So, as I say, we're going to be doing a couple of these a week. You're going to be able to get them on our new Boro YouTube channel and our new Boro Facebook page. So, like, subscribe, leave comments. Some will be pre-recorded, some will be doing live. We'll flag that up on our Twitter pages and everything. But feel free to leave questions, comments, anything at all for me and Dom, and we'll endeavour to answer them. Just before we wrap up, this weekend, Cardiff away. I mean, you're reluctant to say it, but it should be 3 points, shouldn't it?
Yeah, there's always that unknown aspect, isn't there? With the new manager there, and Sol Bamba, of course, in the coaching team. But I mean, we said that about Blackpool and McCarthy, didn't we? And if any new manager has the potential to come and spoil a party, then it's Mick McCarthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
His post-match quotes were as entertaining as ever. If you haven't seen him,
have a look at them on the website.
Yeah, I do fancy Boro to go and get a professional win there, and then that sets up the Sheffield United game perfectly, doesn't it?
Brilliantly, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think, you know, it's always dangerous to make too many assumptions in the Championship, but I mean, if you look at the games where Boro have slipped up under Michael Carrick, you know, I think you can write the first game off because it's his first game. You can write the Burnley game off because it's they're the best team in the league. You can write the Brighton game off because it's an FA Cup game against Premier League opposition. So really, the only game for me where they have really underperformed is the Sunderland game. And again, just because of everything that goes around that, you know, I think there's mitigating factors there as well. So I think, you know, one of the real key things for me in this whole run is that in this type of game against a side that Boro on paper should be capable of beating, they've played up the standards and have got the results. And all things being equal, there's absolutely no reason why that shouldn't be the case at the weekend. Would you expect the same side?
Yeah, you can't see him changing anything, can you?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
I thought Archer was good again. He offers kind of something different, doesn't he? Baleza look tidy from the bench, but hard to make a case.
I'd be surprised if at this stage. Yeah, exactly.
And McNair, you know, another clean sheet, a goal. You can't change that, can you? So I'd be, unless there's, you know, unless things change, circumstances change this week, I'd be amazed if he changed anything there.
Well, we're going to be chatting obviously with Michael Carrick at the press conference on Thursday. So by Friday, we'll probably have a bit clearer idea. We might have an idea if there's been any knocks or injuries or anything, and we'll be back on Friday for a much more detailed look at the Cardiff game, a look ahead to the weekend. We'll probably have a chat about what else might be going on in the Championship this weekend. And then, as I say, next week, there'll be 2 more of these video casts, and we'll start getting some guests in to chat along with us. But hope you enjoyed the first one. As I say, like, subscribe, and leave us your comments, leave us your thoughts, and we will see you on Friday for another edition of You Are My Boro.